Did you know the FBI believes there are as many as 25 serial killers active at any given time? However, the Murder Accountability Project believes that number to be closer to 2,000. Welcome. I'm Jay.
I'm T.
We are Fatal Blend.
This is where we talk about two things we absolutely love. A little bit of coffee and a lot of true crime. Specifically, serial killers.
Yep. And that's what we're here to talk about again today.
As per usual.
Is more drinks and more serial killers.
Pretty much.
So, speaking of drinking, what do you got on the docket today for your drink?
Actually, I'm not going to lie. Today I'm just drinking water. Just water. I don't feel very...
Some good old H2O.
Yeah, I don't feel very hot. So I'm just sticking with water because I had 1 cup of coffee this morning and I basically feel like trash. So we're sticking with water.
No, water's good, but you still need that 1 coffee regardless of how you feel.
Because if not, then you have a fucking headache.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, if anybody out there drinks caffeinated beverages, y'all know what it is. I don't drink coffee because it's like, oh, it keeps me awake. I drink coffee because if I don't have it, I can't function.
Yep.
I have an addiction.
Very true. And with that addiction, I'm drinking a coffee. But this one's just out of the Keurig because it's my second coffee. So it's just a nice little breakfast blend with my coffee cake creamer. Yeah. A little overboard, but it's Chobani, so it's all a lot less of the chemical-y stuff. Wasn't the Nespresso because it was my second cup, trying to limit to a 1 cup of Nespresso in the morning.
How come?
The pods are a little more expensive, and we have the Keurig.
A lot. More expensive.
And we have the Keurig, and we have a lot of pods, so might as well go through them, and can't spoil myself too much. Can't spoil myself and become one of those little spoiled brats that only drink the Nespresso.
Well, I think the thing I like, it pulls a better cup of coffee for sure. But what I like about the Nespresso is the fact that I can make Americanos, right?
Yeah.
So the way that I get around it is when I'm in the mood to drink coffee, I'll drink my coffee in the morning. And then if I want a second cup, I'll make myself an Americano because it's not the same thing.
It's dangerous, though, because we had that espresso machine before that we didn't use very often because you had to get it going and all that stuff. But with the Nespresso, it's dangerous and
because it's
drink
easy.
It. Yeah, but it's like, and it makes such a great cup of coffee that you're like 3-4 coffees deep in the day, and you're like, I probably shouldn't have drank that much.
That wouldn't be so bad if you didn't put a bunch of sugary creamer in it. If I'm being honest, like I do put sweetener in mine, but it's a monk fruit sweetener and a little bit of coconut milk. Like I could drink 7 of those, and it's not going to be nothing compared to you who drinks a lot of sugary flavors in it. That's all.
If we're being honest, then you need to mind your business about my personal life.
Well, your life is my life, so
whatever.
The air you breathe is mine, so I guess I can have a say.
So you would be like a drug dealer who says, "Don't do the drugs because they're bad," but then you give me drugs because you're the one who bought my creamer.
Because you're a baby and you won't drink the shit I would buy you.
No, because I don't like a hairy chest.
I don't even know
that stuff will put some hair on your chest. That is rough.
What are you talking about?
I don't like it's too coffee tasting.
You could get sugar-free creamers. You could get sugar-free.
Oh, I do.
You could get sugar-free flavors. You could also use just regular ass sugar or brown sugar and cinnamon and create your own flavors.
Probably, but
you don't.
I do the sugar-free French vanilla, but that's got chemical stuff on it.
So does for the Americano, same thing. Like,
and half and
half. You got to pick and choose your battles.
It's half and half isn't.
I don't know what you're trying to say. No, hell no, it's not dairy-free. But that's why I
I'll
like
figure it out.
That's why I like the coconut creamer because half and half. I don't like milk in general, but the texture of half and half, I like how it adds creaminess to a coffee.
Well,
I can only find that at Trader Joe's with their coconut creamer in non-dairy. I haven't found any, and you don't like coconut creamer. So if I could find like an oat milk that was a creamy oat milk, or like an almond milk that was an creamier almond milk, I would just have you use that. But it doesn't taste right. So I don't blame you.
we'll check Whole Foods next week. When we're
I
in
guess.
there. Yeah, but the next couple of weeks, we're not going to be able to have the scrumptious Nespresso. We're going to have to downgrade ourselves to Schmarbucks.
Or, I mean, I did see the hotel has a cafe. No, I'm dead serious.
No, I've had their coffee.
It's not good. You don't like it?
It's not very.
Okay. Well, anyways, you'll actually, a couple of episodes that you hear will probably be recorded in a hotel room. So it's probably going to sound a little different.
Downtown LA. And we might have some cool stuff to talk about while we're down there. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Might be a little Disney trip involved or something.
Duh.
Yep.
Duh.
All right. Now that we've hit the pinnacle of Disney, let's drop this down a notch. Who are we talking about today?
All right. So we're talking about Anthony Kirkland. Oh, there's my other ears. I'm like, they just
found them.
I mean, I wasn't.
I just
display. I was trying to decide which ones to bring, and
I
was
just
like,
happened to glance
my
up
other
and I
ears?
was like, wait.
There's
There
my
they are.
ears. Sorry, I was packing and I was packing away one of my many lounge flies, and I was looking for my Disney ears, which I have like 5, and I'm looking and I have 2 that are Little Mermaid themed ones, and I couldn't find one of them, and I looked at him and I said, I'm missing an ear, like ears, like maybe I lost them or something. And just now, because the room we podcast in is our Disney stuff, he literally just pointed. They're just sitting on a shelf for display as per usual where they're supposed to be.
So for somebody
what that
who
is.
talks about serial killers all the time, not very observant.
No, I'm not.
Got to keep your head on a
No,
swivel.
I'm not. Okay, so we are talking about Anthony Kirkland. He has 5 victims. The dates of his victims are 1987 and then 2006 to 2009.
Ooh.
The location is Hamilton County, Ohio, and the method of murder is strangulation. Now, I hate myself for this one. I'm just gonna say it straight. I fucking hate myself for even doing this one. Because, as you all know, I pick randomly out of my books. I literally have nothing about his background other than his birthday. Literally nothing.
Just couldn't find anything?
Nothing exists.
Well,
I don't know if he just doesn't speak about his background or if nobody has bothered to fucking ask him about his background. There is not a single, I have like 10 fucking resources that I had looked at. Plus like another 5 that I didn't end up using, and not one of them had background information on him. So I hate myself for this because that is literally my love is the background. I will tell you what I know.
okay, before we jump into it, because we're talking about hating ourselves and we don't want people to hate us, I do want to throw out there that we always ask you guys to throw out ideas or people you want us to research and do some of our podcasts on. Well, we recently did have somebody reach out to us, but the thing is, we don't want to do anybody who hasn't been caught.
I mean, not necessarily. I just don't like unfinished.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not finished. We like to give a finish to the story. Now, eventually, we might run out of those finishes and do it, but we're not ignoring you. We're just pushing that farther back.
So we'll just start with this is what I have on his background. He was born September 13th, 1968. The end.
Damn September babies.
Actually, I do have just like, okay. I have like one other little snippet. His lawyer, so obviously he gets caught. So his lawyer actually came out and stated that he had suffered physical and mental abuse as a child. Surprise, fucking surprise. However, we have no idea how, who, where, when. We know nothing.
Yeah.
We know
Seems
nothing.
to be a common thread, though. I swear with a lot of these, and I don't know if all of it's true, but I feel like almost that's like the when somebody gets caught, it's like, boom, bad childhood. Like automatically, right?
Which is why we say we don't use that kind of shit as an excuse.
Right. So I'm saying the lawyer saying that, is it true?
So the reason the lawyer came out and said that was that actually he said in his trial, during his trial. So we'll kind of get into the explanation of why that kind of came out, but that's the only piece of information I could find out about his childhood. For somebody who claims that his childhood was physical and mental and emotionally abusive, Wouldn't you think he'd be talking about it? Wouldn't there be some, and I'm not talking police records or nothing. None of that exists for this guy.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, wouldn't you think that if that's your claim, you would explain what, why, when, where, or at least give a little bit of an explanation as to why? He does not give, he gives the most vague fucking descriptions. Like, you'll hear it because he actually makes a statement in court at one point where he does reference this, but it's so fucking vague. It's almost one of those things where you're just kind of like, but did you really? Or is this just your way of trying to get away with something? Because that's almost how it feels. Just, I'm throwing that out there.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
So we're just getting into the murders. We're
from.
literally going to go right into the beginning of the murders because that's all I can do for you. So on May 20th, 1987, at the age of 19, Anthony Kirkland murders his girlfriend, Leola Douglas. Now, he beats her and strangles her and sets her body on fire. Now,
That's 3 levels of aggression right there.
Right. Now, an autopsy later reveals that she was still alive when he lit her on fire. But he strangled her, so my guess is she was unconscious.
But that doesn't matter.
Now, all of this took place at his home. So obviously the police were very quick to figure out who the fuck did this, and they arrested him. Now, shouldn't that just be the end?
You would
Don't
think so,
you
but
think
he probably
that should
got
just
out
be
for
the
good
end?
behavior or overpopulation, or he served 10 years because he's mentally
Bravo,
incapable.
sir. You pay attention.
Like, I've been doing this for a minute.
He gets charged and convicted with this murder and receives a 16-year sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually serves the full 16 years.
As he should.
And he is released in 2003 from prison.
But did they ever say why he only got 16 years?
That's what no, they didn't. And that was one of the things that I sit there and go, okay, but why only 16? You strangled, beat, and lit somebody on fire.
Burned,
yeah.
Right.
And that was worth 16 years?
And you couldn't ring up the charges of not just murder, but trying to dispose of a body by burning it.
If I'm guessing.
Come on, you could add some shit.
If I'm guessing, I think his age played a part in it. He was 19. I think even though he's legally an adult, I think when they see people that young, they always go, well, but, and I sit here and go, anybody who has the wherewithal to beat, strangle, and light somebody on fire, they don't deserve to ever get out of jail.
No, and here's
like
my
ever.
thing.
One time is too many times.
Yeah, here's my thing. If they look at a 19-year-old and they're like, why is that person able to vote? Why is that person able to go to a military?
Yep.
Like, you're entrusting these people, but when it comes to murder, you're like, he's only 19.
He's only 19, so
his frontal lobe doesn't fully develop till 25.
I mean, that's a real thing, but don't use that as an excuse.
No,
right?
I know. I'm just saying.
Okay, so on October 25th, 2004, he is officially released from parole as well. So he gets out of prison in 2003 and is put basically on a 1-year parole. Now his parole's done. Once parole's done, you're fucking free as a bird. Because I forgot to do the math on it. So you figure he went to jail when he was 19, got out 16 years later.
35.
There you go. He's in his 30s. Okay. So on January 25th, 2004, he is actually accused and arrested for raping a neighbor at knife point. Now he is charged, brought to jail, and he is acquitted by a jury of his peers in October of 2005. So he was, I think, in jail, though, from January to October 2005, January 2004 to October 2005. Now, in March 2006, so this is like a few months later, he murders 15-year-old Cassania Crawford. Her body is found actually May 11th, 2006, so like 2 months later. She had been murdered and her body had been set on fire. Now, in April or May of 2006, they're not 100% sure, he murders 45-year-old Mary Jo Newton. She had also been murdered and her body had also been set on fire, and her body was found in a vacant building. Then in December of 2006, he murders 14-year-old Kimya Rollison. She had been stabbed to death and her body had also been set on fire. Now, no, he did not get caught for those murders at that time. So I just want to let you know. But here's what my mind is baffled because I'm sitting here going, you've had 3 people killed within 1 year with all the same MO.
Bodies lit on fire.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Who's been to jail for lighting
doing
somebody's body on fire?
Thank you.
I'd make a good
This
detective.
is what I'm saying. Like, we just didn't do the detective work, I feel like, in this one. So then on May 14th of 2007, Kirkland actually threatens to kill his son because he has a girlfriend and his son. His son is 18 motherfucking months old.
Oh, that's where we draw the line?
No, that is not where we draw the line. So this actually happens during a SWAT standoff at his home. So for whatever reason, I'm assuming there was a domestic disturbance type situation and the cops were called. The SWAT shows up. He has his son. And he's basically like, I'm going to fucking kill him unless you leave me alone. Well, whatever. He gets caught. He ends up getting convicted of 2 counts of unlawful restraint 3 months later and is sent to 150 days in jail. I mean, 150, that's a lot, but you threaten to kill an 18-month-old baby, okay? And again, look at the fact that this man has already been to jail for 16 years for murdering somebody. Please do your fucking due diligence, people.
Yeah, you got to take that
Why is he
to the
continuing
18-month-old as like real shit.
You got to be like, hold on, there's something not right here. So then on September 17th, 2007, a man named Reverend Walter Bledsoe, he actually gets a restraining order against Kirkland. And there is literally no details as to why he had requested it, but it was granted to him and his family in December of 2007. So Kirkland obviously had done something or harassed somebody in the Bledsoe family because the whole family has a restraining order against him, which again, this is a man who went to jail for killing his girlfriend, threatening to kill his 18-month-old son. Now he's harassing a family and we're just going to pretend like this shit don't exist.
Yep.
So then in September 26th of 2007, Kirkland is arrested again, but this time it's for soliciting sex from a 13-year-old. This 13-year-old actually was his girlfriend's daughter. So in March 2008, he is convicted. I know how you feel about kids and all this stuff. So please just try to be understanding. Okay. Don't be mean so I can get through the story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He gets sentenced to 1 year in prison. That's it for soliciting sex from his 13-year-old.
And this is why I think
daughter.
You should go to jail with the shit you're going to jail for printed on your goddamn uniform. And let there be some prison fucking justice.
Okay.
I got it out.
Oh, but wait.
Oh, I'm sure it gets worse.
Oh, yeah. So he goes to jail for a year. But because he's such a stand-up guy, he gets out of jail after only serving 7 months because the prison was overcrowded.
Ah, such a nice guy.
Because he's the fucking one you choose. Like, oh, we got
people in here smoking weed.
We got to keep them
They need
here.
to stay.
Yeah.
But this guy who's killed somebody and has threatened to kill other people, he's a nice guy, though.
Now, he did have to register as a sex offender after that.
As you should. And you should have it tattooed on your forehead.
And he had to, oh my God, that would be a good fucking...
Yeah, I say that, but at the same time, we also know some people who have had
There-
to
well, there's
register
different-
for some bullshit
There's
reasons.
different.
Yes, there are
There's different
levels.
Sex offenders should absolutely be. I mean, it's public knowledge that they're
Yeah.
out there. So whatever. Anyways, because sex
They
offenders
should have a members only jacket that they have to wear.
Yeah. They should have to wear the scarlet letter. No, I'm
Fuck
kidding.
yes.
Just to protect everybody else from them. So anyway, so now he's a registered sex offender and he has to obviously continue to register no matter where he lives, right? So he is released on October 20th, 2008. So this is only 7 months after he was put into prison and he was given 5 years parole though. So listen, we're going to let you go because we have an overcrowding problem and the soliciting sex from a 13-year-old is way less important than the other people. So we're going to let you go, but you are going to be on parole for 5 years and you have to move into a halfway house. Okay. So on February 27th, 2009, Kirkland gets into a fight with actually another resident at the halfway house. The police do get called, but no one is arrested because they both refuse to do it. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're all ex-prisoners. They're not going to fucking snitch on each other. This fight though causes him to get kicked out of the halfway house by the managers that run the halfway house, and they kick him out because he broke the no fighting rule.
Oh, so then he's just let free. Cool.
And they later, the managers of the house actually admit that they actually didn't call and tell his parole officer until 2 days after he was kicked out, which also, fuck you guys. He is a registered sex offender. He is a murderer. And you just kicked him out of your house and did not tell his parole officer, hey, guess what? I just kicked him out. I'm letting you know now. Because the parole officer's job is to show up and fucking find a place for him or find out where he's at.
And in this guy's mind, he's probably thinking also, like, when it comes to the murders, he's kind of untouchable because he's went to jail twice.
Oh, yeah.
But not for this. Mm-hmm. And he's like, little do you know.
Mm-hmm. So Kirkland also does not register a new address at all with the local police, as is required by law.
Why would he?
So in March,
he can hide.
Right. So in March of 2009, so this is only a couple of days after he gets kicked out, he is actually accused of breaking into a home, and he supposedly hid in the bathroom and attacked a man named Frederick Hughes with scissors. Now, Frederick suffers 10 stab wounds, but he does survive. And
damn, that would hurt.
Yeah. Scissors?
Yeah, 10 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, damn.
So then he runs, obviously, and Frederick calls the cops. The cops show up. He kind of gives them a description, and they're like, oh, yeah, we know that guy. That's Anthony Kirkland. So they put a warrant out for his arrest, and what they're looking for him for at this time is they're looking for him for aggravated burglary and felonious assault. Okay? Now, on March 2nd, 2009, so literally the next day, that is the day that the notification of him being kicked out of the halfway house is actually given to the parole officer. So
yeah, because they probably heard about it and went, oh, shit.
Right. So this immediately triggers the police or the parole officer to be like, I need to find him, like, obviously. So he starts looking for him. Well, on March 4th, so 2 days later, there is a second warrant that is issued for Kirkland. And this is because he failed to register as a sex offender with a new address because he lost his one address. So he has to register a new one. Now on March 5th, which is now the next day after that second arrest warrant was put out, Kirkland is accused of threatening a woman named Roberta Baldwin with a knife. Now, Roberta Baldwin is his baby mama. I'm assuming the 18-month-old baby mama, actually. When this happens, he runs. And so now whatever happens in the home, he doesn't stick around. Off he runs. The police show up. She's like, yep, he threatened me with a knife. And they say, okay, well, we're going to put an arrest warrant out for him. So a third arrest warrant is now put out for him on charges of domestic violence, aggravated menacing, and a violation of protection order. So now he's got 3 arrest warrants literally out on him. Nobody knows where the fuck he is. So on March 7th, 2009, so this is 2 days after he tries to assault his baby mama, he murders 13-year-old Esme Kenny. Now, Esme is jogging for the very first time by herself. She is jogging. They have like this like area that she would go and run. And her mom or somebody always goes with her, but they let her go by herself this time. And she accidentally bumps into Kirkland, like actually physically bumps into him, which triggers him. He gets mad. Now, there was a report that she spilled his beer, but what I actually heard from his own mouth was that she reminded him of his baby mama, his ex, and it pissed him off because she ran into him. Which, by the way, she is like 13 years old.
I was just going to say,
I don't know how she reminds you of your.
If you ever became my ex, there's no 13-year-old that would go,
I don't look like I'm 13 years old. What?
Well, sometimes you have an attitude of a 13-year-old, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe she would lift off to him, and that's what she did. I don't
highly
know. But
doubt it.
It's just, come on, you're just a piece of shit.
Exactly.
Didn't remind you of nothing. All right, he's just a piece of shit.
He's just an asshole. So he ends up chasing her. So she runs into him. Probably like most 13-year-old girls, she'd be like, oh, so sorry. And he gets mad. So he starts running after her. Well, she starts running. And unfortunately, she actually trips on like a broken piece of fence or something and falls. So he gets her and he attacks her. He rapes her, strangles her. Now she is reported missing, obviously, by her family. Her mom starts to get worried when she doesn't come home like in a timely manner. So her mom actually goes to this reservoir thing that she was running like around. And she said she went there and she was like listening to see if she could hear her daughter or anything. And she said it was like silent. We'll come to find out later that she was not far from where her daughter's body had been. I mean, her daughter was already dead at that point, but she was, thank God she did not. I really thank God.
Yeah. But
they call the cops.
If you're going to run at any age, stay in a well-lit
But it is. That's what I'm saying. She wasn't in like a super dark place. Like it's not like
But
that.
were there other, like I'm saying, like a well-lit, populated
Well,
place?
how are you going to know if it's going to be populated till you get there?
I know.
Like this is not on her at all.
No, 100%
And I feel so bad for her family
110%
because they always
This is on that piece of shit.
Well, they always took the precautions, and then the one time your child's 13, at some point they have to go out and do stuff on their own.
Exactly.
And the one time she does, this is the result. Like no, absolutely, that should never be. So the police end up showing up. The mom explains like she was going here to run. You know, she's doing this jogging thing. And so they start to search and they actually end up finding her body in the woods not far from her house. And her lower half of her body has been set on fire. So she had been strangled and set on fire. Now, Kirkland is actually found sleeping up against a tree that's not too far from the body. And they start to question him. And they are like asking him what he's doing there because this is really suspect, and ask him who he is. And they search him and they find that he has in his possession items that actually belong to Esme. Like,
nobody said, hey, dispatch, run this guy's name. Oh, he lights people on fire.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why they questioned him. So they find that he has her watch and her iPod in his pockets.
Oh, I just found these.
So he formally gets charged with the murder of Esme. And throughout their investigation, they are finally able to connect him to the murder of Mary Jo Newton and Kimya Rollison. Now, he does end up getting charged for those murders too. And he actually pleads guilty to the murders of Mary Jo Newton and Kimya Rollison. And then he is found guilty on all other counts. So he admits to 2, takes it like a plea deal, not a plea deal. He just pleads guilty. And then the other ones, he is found guilty on everything he was charged for on March 31st, 2010. Now, the actual sentencing he received was the death sentence for aggravated murder and attempted rape of Esme Kenny and Cassandra Crawford. So they were the children. They were the 14, 13-year-old kids that he did this to. Then he received 70 years to life for the murders of Kimya Rollison and Mary Jo Newton. Almost like, so, I'm not trying to be mean, but almost like the older people's lives were like not worth as much.
No, it's not even that. I think it is under the age of 18.
I think that was what,
worse. But here's the thing. You have these 3 murders, 70 years, death penalty. For the exact same thing he did at 19 years old, and he got 15 years.
Thank you.
Ridiculous.
Tell me that you're exactly right. That's what I'm saying is why he ever was able to get out in the first fucking place. And also, how do you think that makes Leola Douglas's family feel to know that their daughter's life or sister's life or whatever was valued at so much less than these other 4 women or girls? Yep. Like, that's pretty fucking shit. So anyways, currently, as of today, Anthony Kirkland is still sitting on death row waiting execution. He is being housed at the Ohio State Penitentiary, and there is no execution date set for him. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. There's literally nothing. That is all I have on this, but I do have some shots.
It always kind of blows my mind when people get sent to the death penalty with no date set.
Well, it's because of appeals.
There should be a law.
Well, there is laws, but I mean, because you can only appeal a certain amount of times or appeal to a certain amount of courts before they won't let you do it.
In 2025, you're not out of appeals.
But
like
that's what
as soon as you run out of appeals, it should be like a week later.
That's what I don't I've never understood that because people, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I took and don't laugh, I took a psychology class. I did not do a paper on it, but
I bet you did.
I took a psychology class that was like a social psychology class. And in that class, one of the things that we learned about was criminology and stuff like that. One of the things that it has come out statistically and has said statistically is it is more expensive to keep somebody alive on death row than it is to give them the death sentence or to give them a life sentence, which is one of the pushes for taking the death sentence completely away. The reason it's more expensive is because they use up resources for fucking years. And sometimes in those prisons, it is one person on death row and the whole goddamn corridor of death row has to be turned on and ran because one person's sitting there. And they go back and forth on whether or not they're going to die or not. And a lot of the times they're using public defenders and things like that to help them, which is also paid by state and government money, like taxes. So it is more expensive to keep them alive on death row. Whereas in turn, if you would have just given them a life sentence, they just live in prison like everybody else. But they have different and special treatment for death row inmates. They stay in completely different facilities. And if there is no death row inmates, you save money because you don't have to turn on that part of the prison. You don't have to waste resources or energy or lights or heating or any of that for one person. But that is what it happens.
And so if somebody knows out there in listening land of why it takes so long, why after you're done with all your appeals, it still takes so long, please share it with us. We'll share it with the listeners. Like, I'm always here to learn. So if you've got an idea, if you've got an answer, or if you just want to say, this is my opinion, throw us a DM, throw us a message. Love to hear it.
Yeah, I will not understand. Because one thing I do notice is when you look at the older, early 1900s, late 1800s, they would take them to the gallows or hang them or whatever within like a couple months of them being found guilty. So I don't know if it's just because it's inhumane or I don't know. And honestly, if you're not going to kill them on death row, just fucking give them life in prison. Then I'm not going to be upset, because I get upset when you have somebody on death row who gets to die of natural causes because it took too long for them to go to death. Sorry, but in my mind, being put to death on death row, the beauty of it, which is like a weird thing to say, the beauty of it is the suspense and the fact that this person knows they're going to die. You know, like you're going to die, just like all of your fucking victims as you beat them, strangled them, whatever. They knew they were going to die. So you should have that fear instilled in you as well.
That's
and you
pretty dark, but I get what you're saying.
You miss out on that opportunity when they get cancer and die in jail because they died of cancer or they died of old age. Like bullshit. They got to live out a life and they got to take a bunch of other people's.
And there are some family members, there are some people that will go watch it to get closure.
I would never, but
I'm saying there are people out there and they don't get that closure, and it's not fair.
No, it's totally not fair. So I do have some shots.
All right, let's hear them.
Okay. So Kirkland actually did appeal his sentence multiple times. So on May 13th, 2014, the Supreme Court actually upholds his conviction and his death sentence. Then again, on October 16th, he appeals, October 16th, 2014, to the Supreme Court of Ohio. And he's asking for a motion to stay of execution. And he is granted a stay of execution, which means he can't be put to death. Then on April 6th, 2015, he actually goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court of Ohio, but like the U.S. Supreme Court, and said, we want you to hear why we think his sentence should be changed, overruled, resentenced, retrial, whatever they were shooting for. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, we don't give a fuck about you or your problems, so take it somewhere else. So they wouldn't even listen to it. Did they say
what he was what he was using I think he was as an excuse?
Yeah, they do. Just, you'll hear it. You'll hear it. Then in May of 2016, he takes it back to the Supreme Court of Ohio. And the Supreme Court of Ohio actually grants a motion for a new sentence hearing. That's what he was looking for, is to be sentenced differently because he doesn't want to die. Literally.
Yeah, I'm sure his victims didn't want to die either.
Right. Now, on August 23rd, 2018, one of the judges at the Supreme Court of Ohio actually throws out the death penalty and says that he needs to be resentenced due to a remark that the prosecuting attorney said in his closing argument. The prosecuting attorney told the jury that Kirkland deserved to die. He told the jurors that it wasn't enough that Kirkland was sentenced to life in 2 murders and that the 2 younger girls should not be freebies for him. That's what he told them. The judge said,
"Oh, you swayed them, so that's why they gave."
Yeah, the judge said that was you trying to give direction. Right? That was you trying to give them direction on what they should do. They have a new sentencing trial, not a new trial. He is still guilty, but now they have new jury.
So he could get life and just live his life out in jail.
Yes.
Be able to live a life, even though it's in jail, that he didn't allow his victims to take.
Yes.
Which is bullshit.
He has this. They have new jurors. He's at this thing. The judge gives him a chance to speak to the jury about why he doesn't want to be sentenced to death, which always blows up because, like, why the fuck do you even have a choice personally? But this is what he says. I mean, he says more, but this is the part that, here we go. He says, If we ask kindergarten students what they want to become, they would say a policeman, fireman, nurse, doctor, teacher, lawyer, pro athlete, maybe an astronaut, perhaps rich and famous. Those kindergarten students would not say they want to become abused by those who should be caring for them or protecting them at the beginning of their early lives. He then goes on and says that he cannot explain why he does these atrocious acts. He apologized for the pain that he caused. He said that he was not there to make excuses, but to beg for mercy, or he was not there to make excuses, to beg for mercy, or to beg for forgiveness. He said those without essential guidance use whatever devices are available to ease their pains, becoming more damaged than before. I am proof of a young person deeply abused, physically, emotionally, and mentally, who becomes the abuser. I cannot offer any justifiable explanations for my senseless acts. I neither expect mercy nor forgiveness. I am not looking for absolution. Eventually, I will answer for a higher authority. I do not blame you if you kill me. I do not deserve to be here, but please spare my life. That's it, Judge. That's what he said. So this is the part where I said he doesn't talk about anything other than he was deeply abused as a child. Okay,
well,
but
he kind of goes back on himself because he's like, I don't want pity. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this. I just don't want to die.
Do you know what's really funny?
Give me the sentence you think you should give me, but I don't want to die.
So what's funny is the article, the article that I got that his actual quoted thing from, the title of the article was, because it literally almost says exactly what you said, but in a different way. It was, serial killer says he won't give excuses, then gives excuses for killing. Like that, like he says one thing and then does the same thing, because he also keeps saying like, I won't give you any reason why, but I'm a deeply abused person and therefore I kill because I was abused when I was a child. And because of that, I should be considered an abused person and I shouldn't be put to death for it.
So it's a simple question. You ask, should the people who abused you mentally and physically be in trouble? And if the answer is yes, then you should be in trouble for your stuff too.
Yeah. Also, Kirkland supposedly told the police the reason that he did light the bodies on fire was because fire purifies. So just that's why the bodies were lit on fire. I actually think it was to hide DNA evidence, but whatever. And final shot is just something that I personally feel. Anthony Kirkland is the epitome of consequences of actions. He is the epitome of why I say you don't use mental health as an excuse for bad behavior, or you don't use your past whatever abuse as an excuse for bad behavior. And what he is the epitome of that, because what he is doing is exactly that. He wants his life spared because he was abused as a child. That's not how that works. You have to pay for what you did. And if your jury of peers feels that you should be put to death, that is the consequence for your action. I don't give a goddamn if you were beat every fucking day. That did not give you the right to go and kill 4, 5, 7, 10 people. It doesn't give you the right. And when you get caught, you suffer the consequences. And no, I don't think his life should be spared because he was abused. I don't think his life should be spared at all because he's dangerous to society. Now, the judge did tell him after the jury, they listened to everything he said and they voted, or not vote, I guess you vote, and they voted to uphold the death penalty. And when the judge told him that he was going to still be put to death, he literally said to him, if not you, then who the fuck are we giving the death penalty to? You're literally the person the death penalty is made for. He also said, he was disturbed and disgusted because at one point in his speech, when he was asked if he wanted to say something, one part of his speech was talking about how he doesn't have any money in prison. He doesn't have any money in prison. And so the judge said, I'm absolutely horrified and disgusted that you took the time to complain about your monetary problems in prison after you took 2 little girls' lives. Are you fucking kidding me? So, needless to say, Anthony Kirkland is still going to be put to death, unless he dies naturally, of course. But he is still on death row. He lives on death row, and they're just waiting until the day he's executed.
As long as he doesn't see freedom, it is what it is.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but you would just hope that he would get the death. I mean, I think for the families involved, it would be their closure to finally see him put to death. I don't think there's one single person that is affected by him that has said, I mean, he doesn't have to die. He's just in prison. I think everybody wants him dead. Because again, that the death penalty is there to stop the worst of the worst criminals. He is literally the worst of the worst criminal. He has killed 5 people and he has threatened to kill his own son. He tried to have solicit sex from a 13-year-old. He never stopped.
Yeah.
From the age of 19, he never stopped doing what he did.
He went to jail multiple times, and it just shows
it
that
didn't change
the behavior was not going to be corrected.
No, jail did not. I mean, let's get real. The United States jail really are not there to rehabilitate, but he was not even close to being a rehabilitated person ever.
Well, and the other thing you got to look at, too, because he says, oh, all this happened. Okay, you were in jail. You were a model citizen in jail, so you knew how to turn it on and off. You weren't fighting people. You weren't doing all that stuff in jail. So
this is why I said I don't know how much of his story of abuse I believe. There's literally no record of abuse, no police records, nothing. There's nothing about his family. And as somebody who is in jail for the rest of his life, if not going to die, and he keeps using abuse of him as a child as the thing, don't you think he'd go into detail, at least with a psychiatrist, go into detail about why he was doing these things, what happened to him as a child that made him do these things? Because I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. What I'm saying is, when you say that that's the reason, but you're not willing to give any information behind that, I can't believe that you're telling the truth. In my mind, it's because most people who do use that, they end up getting the death penalty taken away because it has like a soft spot in people's hearts, especially like people that aren't me. Because if I'm on jury, I don't give a shit about your background. I don't care. I mean, I care because I want to know what you're doing. But if you killed somebody and you were abused as a child, that doesn't correlate to me as you getting on living your life. Like it just doesn't. There are scenarios that we have talked about where mental health, because of somebody's mental health, sure, I could see not giving the death penalty in those scenarios because it is it's not excusing their behavior, but it is telling you that like this person either really couldn't control their, brain or whatever. Sure, I could see that being the reason that you don't put somebody to death. But in this scenario, this man did not care. He only cared when he found out he was going to die.
Yep.
He didn't care beyond that. So for me, I don't care if you were abused as a child because you're trying to use that as an excuse for what you're doing. And you're trying to use that as an excuse to get out of dying in jail for something that you totally deserve to die for.
And if you were out, would you still continue to do it if you would have never got caught?
Of course he would.
Absolutely he would.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the death penalty is there for people like him who won't take accountability really for their actions because they're blaming it on something else. And then he sits there and tells you, I'm not going to make excuses, but he does. He's basically like, I don't know. I'm just an abused person who turned into an abuser. And it's like, okay, well, you should also know that abused people who turn into abusers have consequences. This is yours. And in my mind, you should have been put to death a long time ago. You should have been either in jail for life after you murdered the first time when you were 19 or on death row the first time when you were 19. So either way, you should have never had the opportunity to murder anybody else. But our legal system fails at that every day. So anyways, I hate myself for this episode because I have nothing about his background and he claims his background has the reason he doesn't. It pisses me off because it's like I just don't know how much I believe about what he claims. Because like we say, sometimes people are just born shitty. He might have just been born shitty and he just has a nasty streak, an evil streak. That is the story of Anthony Kirkland, the man who got out of jail multiple times and went to jail multiple times for shitty things and killed and went to jail and still was able to kill more. So do you have anything you want to say?
No, I think
you pretty much have said what you need to.
I think I said it all during the episode.
How we have changed from being like, what's your final thoughts to we just speak it out now while we talk.
We're just telling you like it is.
Which is good. If you like us, if you like the Fatal Blend vibe that we throw, make sure you're following us on all the socials and make sure you have clicked the follow button on whatever program, whatever that you're listening to us on, so you can get notified when we drop new episodes, which of course come out every Thursday. And I think that's about all I have to say other than... Well, I don't know. Wait, do you have something else you need to say?
No,
you made it seem like you're going to be saying something? Okay. So then this is the part where I say goodbye.
And I'll say bye-bye.